Everybody. I'm Maietta, president of ResearchTalk. Today we have another edition of ResearchTalk's Qualitative Conversations. We have two guests with us today who will be talking about a course they're offering at our Qualitative Research Summer Intensive this July. And those guests are Lesley Bartlett and Vavrus. So the course that you're co-teaching with us at this summer's event will be offered July 24th and 25th. It's titled Doing Comparative Case Studies. And the two of you have a wonderful license and permission to be helping folks facilitate their journeys in this regard, not just in your teaching, in your practice, and also in your writing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lesley Bartlett. I'm a professor in the Department of Educational Policy Studies at University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I also work half-time as an associate dean of Regional, International, and Language Studies in the International Division at UW.
And my name is Vavrus, and I'm the Vice Provost and Dean of the International Division at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is also my alma mater. I did my PhD here a little while ago, and that was in education and African studies. And it was also one of the places that I learned quite a bit about qualitative research, which I've been practicing for nearly 3 decades now. So we come out of a field of comparative and international education. So many, but not all of our students, our graduate students, had international projects in mind. But some of the work that's showcased in this new book, as well as in other volumes, has been solely done in the United States. Really great work on reading policies and supplemental schooling programs and so forth. So the international component is one that I think is valuable, but it's not a necessity. So when we think about we talk about 3 axes of a comparative case study: the horizontal, which would be like looking at similar sites, let's say multiple NGOs or multiple schools or multiple hospitals. That's one element, but there's also this vertical element where we're asking people to think about how a phenomenon develops at different scales. So it could be very local, Madison, Wisconsin, but how do phenomena that we're dealing with in our field in Madison, Wisconsin reflect national and often international trends? So that's where we ask people to think about these ways that international or global phenomena, policies, practices might trickle down to a local level and trickle up from a particularly telling site.
So you mentioned 3 axes, right? The horizontal, the vertical, and
the transversal. So that is one where we look at how a phenomenon has developed over the course of time. There's so often an antecedent to what we're examining in the present. And this is another sort of criticism that we've had of traditional case study work. It's often designed to look solely at what is happening today. And we've encouraged folks working with us and using this approach to think how something has come to be the way it is today. Almost like, comparison between 2025 and 1965, for example. And so that is often like helping people set up the context to their study of the present. But in other cases, that is the most important comparison, today and a moment in the past. So that's what we call the transversal axis.
Add to that, I think one of the big takeaways that people, I hope, will have to chew on for some time is a conversation about different logics of comparison and how they map differently onto different research questions and different research designs, and that might bring some clarity to them about whether they use comparison, why they use comparison, and how they use comparison. That's something I hope people walk away from our workshop.
I think one thing that even the most people who are really experienced with case study research will take away, or I hope they will, is an emphasis on process. We're really big on thinking about comparison and research design as as a process and not as focused on what comes out the other end, but how are people employing, as Lesley put it, different logics of comparison at different points in their project. And that's not a way of thinking about case study research that most people have engaged in prior to encountering the comparative case study approach.
One of the things that I do in working with doctoral students is have them draw it, right? Have them have some kind of visual representation of the phenomenon of interest, of the potential places that they might do the work, of what they anticipate might be important relationships or important factors to consider. And so that kind of visual representation, I think, can really help. So I think this course will be a chance to think through case study itself and what that means and how it could be differently set up and how it should be set up for a certain line of inquiry or a certain set of questions. And then in addition to that, how comparison in whatever form might benefit that case study research. No one needs to do a full-on 3-axis comparative case study in order to benefit from thinking through the elements, the critique of case study research and the elements of comparative case study that we outline in the workshop.